Okay, you can hear that. Perfect. So, hi there,
Yeah.
everyone. This is a podcast today about one of my school projects. The driving question that we're going to be talking about is martial arts. So, the base experience of this is we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of it, and this is going to be to reaching parents. And so, my name's Cole Reed. I'm a Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, and with me, I have one of my coaches and his wife today. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
All right. So my name is John Castro. I'm one of the professors and coaches in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Japanese Jiu-Jitsu at Pound for Pound Martial Arts.
Yeah, my name's Colleen Castro, and I'm a coach at the same place.
Awesome. So, John and Colleen, what first I would like to ask you about your martial arts accolades. So any belts, competition accomplishments, anything like that that you'd like to discuss with me?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've started martial arts back in the probably mid '90s. I first started off with Japanese Jiu-Jitsu. Um, under Kiyoshi Neil Delgarno back in high school. So I went to Pope John Paul, and that's where I was introduced to jiu-jitsu with a lot of my friends. From there, I worked through the ranks and achieved my Shodan black belt, my first degree black belt with Kiyoshi Neil. I've competed in a lot of sports jiu-jitsu tournaments with regards to Japanese jiu-jitsu. And then as for Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I started back in the about I would say about maybe 2010-ish time frame. Um, and I went up the ranks from white belt. Most recently, my professor stripes in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Professor Marco Costa. So I'm a black belt underneath him, and I've throughout the whole journey of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I've competed in a lot of different tournaments, including Ontario Opens, national championships. I am a provincial champion with Ontario Open, so I've competed and won under there.
Awesome. And Colleen?
Okay, so I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now for roughly 10 years. Currently, four-stripe purple belt. Um, During that time, I've helped coach and I worked a lot with the kids in the beginning when my son was younger. And I've also competed quite a bit. And I think I am well, yeah, I think it was the Ontario Open. I did get gold for and completed that one as the champion there.
All right. And I'm gonna ask you what first got you into jiu-jitsu or any other martial art that you've ever done in your lives to both of you?
Um, I think when I first got into jiu-jitsu, it was a couple of things for me. One, physical activity was very
Hmm.
important.
Yes, it is.
I think that it was really big for me. I was a little bit more of a heavier kid when I was in high school. I played a lot of baseball, but due to injuries, I stopped playing baseball, but I still wanted to stay active. Two, social, because I had a lot of friends doing jiu-jitsu at the time. And we it just kind of naturally became to that progression. And then three was really mentors, right? Mike Kiyoshi at the time was a high school teacher, and he's really educated me on jujitsu and the benefits of jujitsu. And he was a phys ed teacher, so I was very physical minded and fitness minded. So I decided to take that chance and enjoy jujitsu and try out jujitsu.
Yeah, so I would also like to ask, as you've started jujitsu, would you say that any sort of confidence issues could have, or anything like that, could have ever gotten you into it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think confidence is a big thing. I was a very shy kid growing up, especially in the high school, early high school ages, grade 8 to grade 9, going to grade 9.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it was it helped me become a better person in terms of my confidence, as well as made me a little bit more extroverted. I know
Absolutely.
Colleen has her experience, and there's a few stories that we have. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, so I got into it basically because of my kids.
Hmm.
They both started. My son is kids pan bronze medalist, so really good. My daughter was really good, also, and they started doing it, and then I started getting a passion for it too. And I saw firsthand with my son, who was extremely shy and
Mhm.
quiet, go from being like that to standing up to a bully for his friend at a track meet, which was one of the
Okay.
most incredible things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's I didn't know about that, but yeah, I've got into actually for very similar reasons to John. I was actually a very heavy kid, and it's on my driver's license for the next, I think, 3 years. I was I was 200 I think I was about 100, just about 200 pounds, and I'm like 5'8.5", and that does not look very good on me. I already have puffy cheeks, so it was, and I could show you like my old clothes now. I think I used to go in like XLs, and now it's like I'm wearing like one of those like big suits that you like bring in like those Halloween costumes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
absolutely, and the first time I think I met John, I didn't have really any Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experience per se, but I did ever so slightly a little bit of wrestling with my dad. He taught me my single leg, and he taught me oh, what do you I think he taught me my double as well, but so I think that's why in open rolls that I've done so well with single legs and trips. That's it just got into it. And so if as coaches or as mentors, teachers, parents, how would you say that your experience as a coach or parent has helped them to change their lives, whether you're talking about your kids or any of your students? Do you have any like noticeable stories that you could tell on here?
Right, sir.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's just great to see them evolve and just grow. Like when my son was younger, I helped a lot with Professor O'Neill. I used to help in that class a lot and the coaching and stuff, and just the way the kids grew, just throughout all the years I'm doing it. We know a lot of them since they were little and are now in the adult class. So that's
Absolutely.
that's pretty cool to see. But it's also really rewarding, like with my son's situation. Even with my daughter, it gave me the confidence as she was growing up and starting to date and stuff like that, that I knew that she could handle herself. She was very confident, both of them very confident to stand up for themselves because they knew the worst thing that could happen, they could defend themselves and they had that confidence to not get walked all over and stuff like that. So
And you'd be surprised too. It's like you most recently, Tristan and Julian came into the club, and they trained the two boys. That we actually, I was actually uh, one of their coaches when they were 6, 7 years old, and
How
just to
old are they
kind
now?
of know that you as coaches added to their being and being having them being part of you is very rewarding. I remember one instance I was actually in Markham, Ontario, and I was having lunch with a colleague of mine, and they both walked in and said, "Hey, Sensei, how are you?" And it's been years since I saw them, and I'm very surprised that they recognized me. But knowing that you have effect on kids and their future being, it's amazing. It's amazing feeling as coaches.
yeah, and even on the adult end of that, we had somebody come in and train with us a couple weeks ago, and she came up to me and said that she credited her first win, her first tournament win to me because it was a choke that I put her in over and over and over, and then I taught her it, and she used it to win her first tournament. So little things like that are really cool to hear.
Yeah, trust me, I know. I get put in the same positions just time and time again. I haven't learned yet. My body just goes to different instincts. It's an instinctual thing. You got to program it, vine after vine. So
Absolutely, absolutely. But we tell the kids, and you hear from both of us is that it helps build you, right?
it does.
Regardless, it helps build you as a person, and it helps build you overall. And we talk about confidence, and the more you do, the better you get, and the more confidence you'll have.
Yeah, absolutely. And to talk about that, just about your incident maybe with your kids' bullies, there is a lot of misconception, I would say, with parents in martial arts. When you hear the word martial art, to an outsider, that might mean violent. A lot of
Yeah,
people get accused of violence,
Mhm.
whereas it's meant to be a self-defense tactic.
absolutely.
So yeah, there's lots of experiences, and I've even like seen it growing up. There's a lot of people that go in there with with egos and violent mindsets, and
Yeah.
they want to kill. Like they're I don't know if it's a
Yeah.
subconscious thing or
It,
it's a parental thing, could be like a home situation. Would you
Yeah.
talk more about your experiences with anything like that, or any
you know
students
what?
that you may know of?
Yeah, absolutely. Like when you're right, because a lot of people, when they think martial arts, they think UFC, and then they think of
Mhm.
UFC, they think of blood or broken arms or what have you not.
The
Hmm.
cool YouTube stuff.
The cool YouTube stuff, yeah, right. Because like it's really streamlined with a lot of like guys like Kimbo Slice or guys who's just a backyard brawler, right?
Yeah.
And I got two fists, and look at me, I'm a martial artist, right? But the martial arts is more than that. It's yes, it does build your confidence. Yes, you learn a skill on how to self defend yourself, but it also teaches you how to regulate yourself
Mhm.
as people, right? Um, you know, I got when I was growing up as a kid, I was very much into um, I got into a lot of fights in elementary school.
Hmm.
Even in high school, I got into fights, right? But when I started getting into the martial arts, I started to learn how to control my emotions and how to build the confidence, knowing that I can achieve things that may not be able to be achieved when people think that they can't,
Mhm.
right? And then it's put me in situations. I've been in situations where I would go out with friends and there would be an altercation, right? But you're very aware. And one of the things
Hmm.
with martial arts that a lot of people don't realize is that you have to always know what's around you, right? Because you
Yeah.
just don't know what can happen or what instances can happen, right? So
Yeah,
that's kind of
absolutely.
you know my experience from that standpoint. But it helped me keep me out of trouble. It helped me understand a situation that's negative, and it helps you um, you know keep away from those type of things so that way you don't get caught involved.
Yeah, absolutely. I can also relate to that a lot. I got into a couple of scraps when I was a little bit younger, but when I started to learn how to defend myself, when my dad first taught me how to box, how to throw a punch and everything like that,
Yeah.
it taught you that you don't want to have to hurt people because you know what you can do, and if you hit somebody the wrong way, you might end up killing them. And especially in our country of Canada, that's that's type, what is it? Degree to
Yeah.
murder?
Yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
it's it's death by it's like literally death by association. Even
Yeah.
like if something were to happen in a situation
Hmm.
and I was involved or one of us were involved, we would automatically be considered, you know, weapons because we know a certain martial art, right?
Hmm.
So that's the tough thing. But you regulate yourself and you know yourself when not to be in certain situations, right? And
Absolutely.
so in Connor's case, like um he used it to help defense someone who's bullying a friend. And he used it for good more than he did use it for a negative situation, right? So, and that's kind of where um martial arts come in great experience for peoples because they use it as a positive and not a negative.
Connor, that's one of the guys from Pound for Pound at our
That's
gym, isn't it?
correct. That's
It's
Colleen's
my
son.
son. Yeah.
Oh,
He's
that's your
been
son. He's
yeah,
the blue belt?
correct.
He's a
Yeah,
blue
okay.
belt. Yeah.
I think I met him. Was he at our Saturday class?
Yeah,
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 okay. I think I
He
did
comes
yeah.
Saturdays. Yeah.
He's been
I
competing ever since he was like what? How old was he? Like
5, he
5?
started. Yeah.
Yeah,
and how old is he now?
He is 16, turning 17.
Okay, so he's been doing it for like 12 years or so.
yeah.
Yeah.
And how would you say, based off of his life, that learning martial arts or Brazilian jiu-jitsu, as I think he just knows jiu-jitsu, or does he know anything else?
Uh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah.
Yeah, how would you say that's helped shape his life as a person, or as he's gone from a very like young adolescent kid to a young man?
I would say the most would be on the confidence side of things. He's just when he was younger, he was just really shy. It was just you hear about it and you hear how people say it builds confidence. It was just really neat to actually witness that happening firsthand. But I think just the fitness side of it, right? It just keeps him active and didn't really take with any other sports or anything. So, kept him active and busy like that and just involved in something. Plus it's almost like you develop another family,
Hmm.
right? So he met a lot of other kids, a lot of the other parents. Professor O'Neill and Trixie are very close to us, and their kids grew up, and Mike, the kids all grew up together and stuff. So, just built like a whole little different world for him that I think was just that comforting too.
And I think from a traveling aspect too, aside from the social, because you're traveling to different tournaments together, right? Like as Colleen mentioned, is that it builds that brotherhood, right? It builds that bond, like that family oriented feel, right?
Yeah.
So when you're going to the same tournaments, competing at the same tournaments, right? It's nice. And now they're starting to coach other kids, right? And helping them paying it
Mm.
forward, right?
Yeah, and I
So
mean, my son helps me. I want to compete this year, and I'm telling him he's got to kick my butt, and he shows me some pretty cool things. So,
yeah,
Yeah, that's it is certainly interesting because a couple of the things that you both said, and about your son too, all three of you started off as very shy kids.
yeah,
And I was a very shy kid too growing up. I wasn't very like outgoing and extroverted and social. So it's very interesting how you can bring a group of people that would maybe normally not go and talk together, and you could bring them to a room where you'll meet friends and especially like-minded people. Whereas you don't have to question why you're there because you're there to get better at something, you're there to compete, you're there to train, you all those people are there for the same reason. So it gives you a sense of, I don't want to say belonging, but it does give you a sense of belonging and security.
absolutely.
yeah.
Because when you get better at something, you naturally get confident and
Hmm.
and you become your own self and it transcends outside. It's just more internal. It exudes in confidence. Like, how many times that people tell me that because I've done jujitsu, they can sense a confidence around me. How many
Hmm.
times
Mm. Well,
that
it's even with Connor, he when he went and competed in California, Pan, um, and he's not like them, he's shy now. He's not the most popular kid or anything, but the whole
Hmm.
school, he got an award at school. They all talked about it at school that he had did that, and everybody was like, "Oh, you do jujitsu," and it was just he felt really important, I guess, and liked and stuff like that. That time, it was really good.
yeah,
So he didn't really have like a ton, like a big group of friends growing up, but this kind of gave him a way to meet new people, just
absolutely.
bond with different individuals. There's it's a weird sense because even when you've rolled with somebody or you've like sparred with somebody in striking, you get a sense of brotherhood with them. It's almost like your lives are linked
Yep.
together in some weird way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. Just
Yeah, even if you tell somebody else you do jujitsu and then you're like instant friends and you're like you could talk for hours and hours about jujitsu and there's like no end to it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We were rolling the other day, we were doing drills with John, and then Ryan just held me there, and it was just we just had like a good conversation and a hug afterwards. The guy
Yeah.
was like super friendly, but
The BJJ hug, yeah.
yeah, you just you don't picture in mind, especially as parents, if who didn't maybe do martial arts or know if their kids were doing this growing up, you just wouldn't think that like you bring a sense of a sense of like a community there, like a group of friends, especially. It doesn't matter even if all ages, anybody can like find somebody who has a lot of common traits and issues or different or maybe a similar upbringing, which is it's a super cool concept. But I would like you to if you don't mind telling me the pros and cons, would you say? Because there's definitely pros and cons to both sides of the story.
Yeah.
And I myself have been injured a couple of times, so that's
Yeah.
definitely something that happens. But yeah, so if you could tell me a couple of the pros and cons that you think, maybe five pros and then a
With
couple of
jujitsu
cons.
or with martial arts
Just
in general?
both. Give me both
Yeah.
sides. Give me your sides as an instructor.
I think from my side, you want to start or what? But from my side, from a pros cons, obviously confidence, character building, um, a social aspect to things is definitely great cons. From a non-positive or a negative side, injuries obviously is a big thing. Another one too is really mental, right? Because the thing is with any martial art, doesn't matter what it is, it involves hard work, right? And dedication. And that's a lot of people who don't do it, I feel like are giving up on themselves. They
Hmm.
don't, You know what I mean? Like I think it just changes the behavior sometimes when they don't do stuff like that. But really comes down to just I feel is that the negative is really the injuries, right? Like there's really not much negative in doing a martial art, right?
Yeah,
I was shelved for a while, and um, it helps with your psyche. But at the same point in time, um, if you can get over that in psyche, it actually makes you mentally stronger, right? So
100%. It's a great thing because not only does it improve, there's a mental side to it, so that you're improving like your mental health and your physical health and your emotional
absolutely.
health. It's a very, very extraordinary process to watch somebody go from a shy, unconfident teen or kid to a very, very strong, confident teenager who's very driven. And it also, I think, it drives a sense of passion into your life that you can't be, or I don't want to say you can't, but it's hard to be like born with it and just develop. You have to develop it.
Well, I think one of my favorite moments is Connor went to Pans twice, and the first year he lost in the first round to this kid.
Within like 30 seconds.
Yeah, like and
Yeah.
Connor is a high level competitor, and he lost in seconds. And I remember when we talked to him, you know, after that, he said, "I want to come back. That was
Hmm.
not my performance. I want to come back." So he's taken that negative um, because it was a negative situation to a positive. Next year, we came back. We went to California. He tore up the first three, and he was just steaming through it, right? And
Mhm.
like, and the competition in pans for those kids is not like two or three people. You're talking about like 5 to 10 kids at any
Around
given
the world.
around the world.
Yeah.
And he walked away with bronze. And it was for me, it was such a proud moment because he took that negative feelings and connotations and he used it as a positive and focusing and getting back to that level again the year after.
You said Pan's tournament. Can you better explain to me what that is? Because as somebody who may not know exactly what that type of tournament is it like
It's
an
like the
international?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the worlds for kids.
So
Oh, okay.
so
The very high, like the highest level.
Yeah, one of the highest level of the world. So typically, a lot of kids in the U.S., Canada, England, anywhere in the world will go into California and compete at the kids jiu-jitsu tournaments. Very much like the World Masters for IBJJF. It is
Hmm.
IBJJF driven, but just specifically for kids.
Okay.
So he's competed with people from everywhere from the U.S. and from Europe. So um, and he's bonded with a lot of these kids. So, not only he's, being part of these tournaments, he's also making friendships at the same time, right, from around the
Hmm.
world.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. So, what are the ages for this kids tournament, and how long would you say it takes? Maybe from your son's experience, how long it took for him to train for this, to really, really work for this tournament?
Oh, geez. Well, I mean, usually a few months or so, if not a bit more, they start specific training camps for it. And the classes are more intense, push them a lot and stuff like that to get them to that level because it's not the same as it is here. It's
Hmm.
a whole other level. So I would say what probably about 6 months out
Yeah, 6 months out camp
start,
we
and then
typically
the
do.
closer you get, the more ramped up it gets, and then of course you have to slow it down just before so that you don't
Taper.
overdo
Yeah.
it and get injured and stuff. Yeah,
And
And
then
what
I think
is
the range, I think the range for this kids level all the time. How old are you?
I
Like
think it goes up to 12
12,
calendar year 12. Yeah,
yeah.
I think
So
so.
so
12,
from
13.
ages
Yeah.
it starts from ages 5 to 13, or it locks out at ages it's
It
I think it stops at 12.
Yeah, I think it
12?
stops at 12. Yeah, 12. No, I think how old was Connor? I think
So
because we did it pre-COVID, so
it was
2019.
just at the beginning of
Okay.
COVID
Yeah,
because we didn't know when we got back we were going to go through the airport and that. So
yeah.
yeah, so
So it would more, yeah, I would probably say about 13-ish, 14, 13, 14-ish. Yeah, around
Okay.
there.
All right, that's cool. So back to competition. So what's your opinion on younger kids, maybe anywhere from like 5 and up, kids competing? Whether it's in jujitsu or whether it's another martial art. My cat might end up joining us. He's just down here.
I think it's important for everybody to compete because they say every tournament's like 30 classes. So it's really good experience. You learn a lot. You're trained constantly with the same people. So if you're doing a tournament, then you find the holes in your game. You can see what works, what doesn't work a lot
Hmm.
better. And it pushes them. Like I know it's extremely hard to compete, especially if you have a lot of anxiety and stuff, right? So it puts you in those situations to overcome that. So
Absolutely.
um I think it's really, really important to compete, and they all should. Plus, the tournament's based on belts, weight, what you know, and then what you can and can't do is based on all of that. So you're
Yeah.
going against like leveled people,
Yeah.
right?
But I 100% agree with Colleen. It's like you're not only physically to see where you're at, but also mentally. Anxiety is a big one where a lot of people don't
Mhm.
want to go and compete in front of other people because they're afraid of failure and they're afraid of not performing well. And I
Yeah.
think when you're at a young age with kids, it helps them develop to kind of get over that fear, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Personally, one of my biggest hurdles with competing is the anxiety.
Hmm.
You almost start and you forget, like, it's almost like you forget everything. And I hate competing for that reason, but I try to do it to challenge that, right?
but so
So,
much benefit because Professor Marco, our Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu professor, he even
Hmm.
says when you can do one tournament, it's like doing 20 classes because
mhm,
you've learned so much about yourself and how you handle things in stressful situations. Because really, it's a lot of stress to compete,
yeah.
right? People are in the bullpen worried. People are even worried before even signing up, right? So it can definitely paralyze you as individual. But when you're a kid and they don't know much what's going on, it will definitely help them in the long run.
I'm glad you mentioned anxiety, especially as like a very, very as mental health awareness becomes a very prominent issue. Do you think this the martial arts or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu would be good for somebody who's known to be very anxious, both like if they're anxious to
Mm.
do a sport, anxious to be social or indoors,
Mhm.
someone maybe suffers with something worse like depression, as we know, is it's a very, very common mental thing. And I would say it's a big barrier to joining a class like this.
Yeah, I think my son's example, and on an adult level, I would be an example of that. So um the anxiety is really, when you're competing, especially, it's hard. When I first started, I it was hard to have somebody near me. I'd want to hold their gi like this, like, just what are you doing? Don't come, don't come here. So you have to get over that. And then it does, like personally, when I compete for a couple weeks beforehand and then about a week after, like that's how long it takes me to ramp up to it and to get
Mhm.
over it, because it's really hard. But when the more that you put yourself in that situation, the better. And one thing, as a parent, not doing it, telling your child to do it, um, and pushing them
Mhm.
Hmm.
is completely different when you do it yourself, because
Yeah.
now you understand and now they know that you understand,
Yeah.
because you tell them just do it, and then you see a lot of kids
Yeah.
that get mad because you don't understand what they're going through mentally to do it, and it's really hard. And a lot of kids come into jiu-jitsu with ADHD, with social
Is
anxieties and stuff like that,
yeah.
specifically are put into classes, and the turnaround those kids
Yeah.
is incredible. Even with my son, he wouldn't talk to anybody for the longest time, and O'Neill can tell you the story, and then all of a sudden he's just,
Yeah.
start coming out of his shell more and more and talking to people more and more, cracking jokes and everything
Yeah.
now. And yeah, so
Yeah, and there's absolutely like, I'm a big firm believer that you lead by example and you're the first person to teach your kid, right? And this is how why I started competing too, is that anxiety is one thing, but I have to overcome that to show my kids that they can do it too. And like there's one, well, I still remember Callum, right? Callum, which is part of the club, he had high anxiety, and
Hmm.
now he's I don't he's around Connor's age or a little bit
the
that
younger.
younger.
Yeah.
Um, but he was so shy, didn't want to do. But when he started doing tournaments and competitions, um, you know, he started to become a different person. Even with Tristan, same way, shy competition became a different person, and
Yeah.
it's because one, they're putting them in situations that are that are going to be um, outside of their comfort zone.
Hmm.
And two, they're going with a group of friends and they like that's that sense of belonging and social aspect. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of, a lot of wins of competing,
And
right?
and on the flip side of that, I can tell you something that my daughter experienced or I experienced with her is she's used to have to go against a lot of guys
Yeah,
when she competed, and they would come in and they'd be like, oh, whatever, right?
a
And she
girl.
would
Yeah.
coach them out. And these are kids that are coming in. This is the other side of it. They come in with the ego, with the attitude,
Hmm.
and they would leave the match crying. And multiple times I would have those parents come up to me and thank me for my daughter humbling their child. They needed to have that happen to them. So that's
Hmm.
pretty cool to see too.
But that's the
Yeah.
cool thing. That's the cool thing with being coaches is because we're encouraging their kids because some parents don't want to push their kids into situations or stressful situations, right? And
Hmm.
as coaches, we're there to kind of support them and making sure that you know, they're going to be okay and this is, great for them, etc. For both from parents and child perspective. So, um, I don't know. I talk nothing but great things with competition. You have to compete, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I'm glad Colleen mentioned that, especially with kids going in with egos.
right.
I've once heard a saying that ego is the food of the fool, and to control that ego is the
Mhm.
food of the wise man. So I think, and I especially will preach that to, if I have kids too, I will preach that to them when they do this as well, that they should always learn to be humble in victory and humble in defeat, because
Absolutely.
there is going to be a lot of upsides and there's going to be a lot of downsides. But as long as you build yourself back up, tough tough times don't last, tough people do. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
especially as you experience Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or any other martial art, whether it's karate, taekwondo, Muay Thai, like I do, you could do MMA, wrestling, whatever. It all builds a sense, and it's a very, very long-lasting, beneficial thing for kids and parents. But as we do run out of time with our Zoom meeting, is there any other final comments or things you would like to reach out to with parents regarding their kids joining martial arts?
You want to start?
I just say, just based on experience and seeing what my kids went through, give it a try. Do it. I think the rewards are incredible, and the change that you'll see in your child is just it's like nothing that I've experienced. And my kids have done hockey, soccer, everything, and it's really, really good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would probably add too is the fact that it makes them well-rounded people, right? It changes their mentality, it changes their physicality, it changes the way how they do things and how they
Hmm.
respect people. And as parents ourselves, you want that in your children. You want them to have confidence. You want them to have be respectful around others. You don't want them to be um, you know, papers in the wind where people tell them and they just do whatever. You want them to have that sense of understanding and a sense of belonging. And I think that's a big thing too, especially with kids with anxiety and who are shy and they don't want to know. It gives them a sense of community, and that's
Mhm.
extremely important.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you guys for joining me today. If you'd like to leave any social media or any way they can find out more about you guys, if you'd like to do that, that'd be awesome. If you'd like to introduce your Instagram, YouTube, the gym that you work at, awesome. Feel free
Yeah,
to.
absolutely. Yeah, you know what? If they have any questions, they can definitely reach out to me. You can hit me up on Instagram. I'm on at Jon Castro. That's my Instagram handle. Facebook, we're on Facebook as well. We're at Pound for Pound Martial Arts in Pickering. We do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and we're there sometimes on Japanese Jiu Jitsu as well. So, um, you know, so yeah, you
He's
can.
a social media guy.
Uh,
Awesome. Thank you guys for your time. And for anybody listening, thank you. And there will be an infographic, and I will leave the website and other information to reach Pound for Pound Mixed Martial Arts in Pickering, Ontario, Canada. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
awesome. Thanks,
Thank
Cole.
you.